Hi,
Hey, good afternoon. I was going to say good morning, Pastor Aventer. How are you doing today?
doing fine. Thank you so much. How is everybody?
Well,
Oh, great.
Good. My name is Aventer, and I am excited to be a part of this conversation because it is so necessary. People are hurting right now. They have, multiple things that are on their plates as far as trying to navigate exactly what all of this is with the pandemic, and then just understanding what they can do to help themselves with regards to their rights. And what's amazing is that because they don't know them, they don't understand exactly how to respond to things as far as if they receive letters or if people are being pushy in this climate. So I really do hope that people are able to gain a lot of information and to just be patient. I think that our mental health is so important right now because we are heavy. We don't know a lot of what to do, the what to do next. It's not just a time where people are just struggling with meeting their needs or regular bills. This is some people had a very secure and permanent job that they were looking forward to getting up in the morning and reporting to that may not be available anymore to them. It may not, uh, it's nothing that they did. It is just the climate of the day. And everybody's trying to figure it out. But I really hope that a lot of businesses and corporations are have the opportunity to search their hearts to give people, not people who are trying to um, skirt the system or be, not pay because they're riding on this pandemic wave, but there are people who are really in need right now. And I look forward to seeing how the church can be at the forefront of lending itself to the necessary programming or understanding distributions of help, not just, giving a word and prayer, but real tangible partnerships with bridging that gap between our mental health, how to sustain, how to maintain, and also just an opportunity for us to kind of love on one another in a new way and find out how we can uh, actually stand in the gap for a lot of people. I know there have been multiple emails about, can you help me? I just need X amount of dollars. And it's something simple, maybe even like $200 or $400 just to make it to the next month so that they can breathe until the next month when you're going to revisit the same scenario. But at the end of the day, people are hurting, and we all are. I mean, if one of us hurts, we should, humanity, we should hurt for one another. And if others are in position to meet those needs, how do we figure out the qualifiers? How do we, hurry and aid them without taking them through, all of these processes to make sure that they're able, to receive it, or if it's warranted or if it's necessary. I've seen with a lot of corporations, there's like this lengthy paperwork that you have to go through. Then you have this waiting period that you have to go through. And then you may miss the call. And if you miss the call, they may not call you back. It's just so much, overwhelming. And you never know when it will be you. So I just want us to actually just try to switch places with people who may be going through some trying times and figure out how we can partner with one another on servicing Greenville. We need to really make sure that Greenville's economy is stimulated in ways that we might not have thought of before, because we find ourselves in this position right now. And I think that even when we're on the other side of it, is something that should continue. We need to help everybody kind of stay in a safe place with how they're able to take care of their family, so people won't try to resort to things that are illegal in taking care of their families, because people do, and we know that. And I've talked a lot,
Yes.
so I do want
try to get the other people on, man.
But that's my heart. We are fully relentless in pursuing people, pursuing their hearts, not just if they believe what we believe or not. We don't care about that. We don't care what color you are, what your social status is, none of that. It's about us coming together to meet a need.
Absolutely. Thank you, Pastor Aventer, for sharing your heart and your perspective regarding what our church stands for and the hearts of our pastors. We really appreciate that, and taking you all, everybody that's on the panel, for taking your time out of your day to make sure that we do what's best, which is engage and inform and educate people to make sure they understand which resources and things are available for them and to them. And so I wanted to go back and kind of talk about some things, and then we can start to introduce everyone. When we started to talk about things that are needed in our society in January. Yes, sir.
Are there people waiting on all of us to get on this call? Anzio said there are people on Facebook waiting. Is that true?
On here it says that we're on live. I don't know what they're waiting on.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't another group of people that are wanting to connect and we haven't included them. I just want to make sure.
Okay, I'm texting someone out of the network to see if we're on live and waiting for a response, but
we are live on Facebook.
Okay. All right, so in January of this year, we had a job fair here at Relentless Church, and we were able to bring jobs for, we had 200 people that showed up for the job fair and 26 vendors. In February, we had a health fair. And in the month of January, we spoke with Martin and Dr. Duckett about things that could be impacting our community. We met them at the United Way, and we found out a startling detail about the number of evictions that took place or are taking place in the Greenville area. And during that conversation, we realized that there was something that we needed to do. So we began the conversations in February about having a sit down or a town hall meeting here at Relentless Church to educate our parishioners as well as the community about things that were going on. And then COVID-19 happened in March during our planning phase, and people started to defer rent and mortgage. And we knew that there would be a crisis that would come into play if we did not address this at some point. So we couldn't wait until after we went back to normalcy. We had to make sure that we addressed it while people were still going through, so that they would have the tools in place to know what the impacts would be if they deferred their mortgage or if they deferred their rent payments, or what rights they had as tenants. In the city of Greenville, or Greenville County, as it was reported, or as it is reported, had, I believe it was 82,000 evictions filed. Let me pull that stat up.
21,000.
I'm sorry, 21,650 eviction cases filed in the Greenville County in 2018. And so we wanted to make sure that we introduced some people that could actually speak directly to some of these issues. And I'm going to go around and introduce the panel, and then you can tell them something briefly about yourself, and we can start with some of the discussions. So Martin Watson is the Community Relations Coordinator for Greenville County Human Resources Commission. We have Grace. I'm sorry, go ahead, Martin.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go on through it and I'll introduce.
All right, we have Grace Simonelli. She's the branch manager of Carolina Foothills Federal Credit Union.
Hello.
We have Sarah Carter, counselor, Greenville Financial Empowerment Center.
Hey, guys.
And we have Mark Fessler, housing unit head, staff attorney at South Carolina Legal Services.
Yeah.
So within the group that we have, we wanted to make sure that we brought a diverse group of people in front of everyone, but we also wanted to make sure that we had people that had tools and knowledge that they could actually tell us exactly what's going on in Greenville, and then give us the right tools to make sure that we equip people going forward with resources, because they also have resources at their disposal. And so we wanted to open up the discussion at this point in time. Martin, with you, just kind of introducing yourself and telling us some of the things that you all do.
Okay. Thank you. I first want to thank Pastor Gray and Mentor Gray for having us on for a dynamic panel that you had, and the staff. The staff has been dynamic putting this together. Again, my name is Martin Watson. I'm with Greenville County Human Relations. I am the Community Relations Coordinator. And just to kind of give you a little background on what we do, well, first thing, I actually had the fair housing, part of the landlord tenant issues, as well as the first time home buyers education class. But Greenville County Human Relations has been around about 40 years. It's kind of kept a good, best known secret, I should say. But we assist with rental assistance for clients that have been displaced because of evictions or homelessness, foreclosure counseling and assistance. We do that. First time home buyers class, of course, landlord tenant issues, as well as mediation and financial counseling. So, and we are at the County Square at 301 University Ridge at Suite 1600, and you can reach us at 864-467-7095. But a lot of that's one of the resources right there that we can actually use.
Now, Martin, I wanted to ask you a quick question about this. What is the charge for people to use your services?
That's a good question. It's $0.99. We don't charge anything, and that's another thing people don't realize. You know, they do a lot of different things where they have to pay. We are a nonprofit. We actually make sure we do not charge anything for our service. That includes financial counseling, where a lot of people pay for $50 or $60 a month. We do that for free.
Right. And so that was kind of a loaded question, because in the community that we have, there's so many people that want services, and we wanted to make sure that people understood the services that you all are providing, in this case, Martin, are free of charge to the public in that regard, but that this is specific to Greenville County area. Some people may have to go and reach out to their local politicians and local communities to find out what services are available directly to them. But this is kind of a blueprint of sorts as to starting this conversation here locally, because this is where we are, but we wanted to just give you that time to give people some clarity and direction about what it is that you do. Next up in our discussion, Grace Simonelli. There are so many different conversations that we've had regarding mortgages and things of that nature. So we wanted to make sure we brought someone on that had some direct influence in that regard. So Grace, tell us something about yourself right now.
All right. I work for Carolina Foothills Federal Credit Union. We're a not-for-profit cooperative credit union here in Greenville, Cherokee, and Spartanburg counties. We try to provide affordable housing in these areas through our first-time homebuyer program. So
Wow.
we do partner with the Greenville County Human Relations. We also offer free financial counseling and first-time homebuyer classes. So we do work a lot together to try to reach people who need affordable housing or some counseling to get prepared to find housing, get their finances in order and their credit. So we do provide a lot of those services to our members and to the community for free.
Absolutely. Right now, we've heard two people that actually help and provide services to make sure that people have assistance with first-time home buyers. People are able to get information about mortgages, and we'll ask some pointed questions regarding that to make sure that we get a little deeper into the discussion regarding what their mortgage rights and options are regarding deferment and some other things that were questions that were submitted. But Sarah Carter actually works as at the Financial Empowerment Center. And we know that they're talking about first-time home buyers and, people are unemployed, but you have some tools in place for us to be able to help people to learn what they can do in this COVID-19 time regarding saving and financing and or even credit counseling and things that might be important to them. So tell us something about yourself, Sarah.
Sure, absolutely. My name is Sarah Carter. I am originally from Central America, Panama. So you may hear a little slight accent. Forgive me for that.
No problem.
I am a bilingual housing counselor and financial empowerment at the Financial Empowerment Center with Greenville County Human Relations. And what we do there is pretty amazing. I've got to share with you guys. We will help you not just with your home ownership goals, but pretty much any financial goals that you're working on. Anything you can think of, it's going to require that you're going to have a plan on how you're going to get there. And you're going to also want to have some support. So I have to say that we have one of the best teams at Human Relations and under the Financial Empowerment Centers that you can ever have access to right here locally, right here in your own backyard. And as Martin said earlier, is FREE, free. So,
free. Wait a minute. That's three for free right now. 3 for free. And so we're going to ask this gentleman up in the corner, Mark Fessler, who's an attorney. Oftentimes when we are facing, or if people are facing eviction, people don't know that if a person faces eviction, things go on their credit. Even if the eviction isn't carried through, once the eviction is filed, it still may impact their ability to rent going forward. And we have an attorney on here so that we can talk about some legal things that people can, people have to know their rights, and knowing their rights and having legal representation is something that can make sure that we have tenants that understand what their rights are. So we wanted to give Mark an opportunity to introduce himself as well. Hey, Mark.
Hey, real quick, Pastor DeMarcus, I'm trying to catch some of the questions that I see rolling because people have some super significant ones, but that's, if y'all see me doing this, I just didn't want to miss anything. Okay, I'm muted.
Sure, well, thanks for that. So I'm the housing unit head for South Carolina Legal Services, and South Carolina Legal Services is a statewide nonprofit law firm, so our services are also free.
Wait a minute.
You have to qualify. Yeah. We don't offer them to everybody, so if you can afford an attorney, unfortunately, you're out of our wheelhouse. But anybody who falls generally below 200% of the poverty line are people that we can serve. And just to give you an idea of who that is, if you're a family of 3, you hit the federal poverty line. If you're a household of $21,720 a year, and you're 20% or 200% of that poverty line, if you're making $43,440 a year, and that's to support 3 people. So
wow,
poverty line is not a measure of luxury by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
And we offer free legal services to the people who qualify in all sorts of fields. So landlord tenant, foreclosure defense, family law, probate matters, consumer defense if you get sued on a credit card or something like that. And for anybody who needs to apply or wants to apply, we have a telephone number that they can call. It's 1-888-346-5592. Or they can go on our website, www.sclegal.org, and there's a little apply button, and that's the way to get into our pipeline. But I want to thank the church for inviting us, and thank Human Relations Commission, because I believe it was Dr. Duckett that actually emailed us asking if we could be a part of this. And we do have a pre-existing, long-standing relationship with the Human Relations Commission, since a lot of our clientele overlap, and I fully commend the work that they do. So proud to be here.
Absolutely. One of the things that I found as a common thread is there are services that are available to people. The Bible says, my people perish from a lack of knowledge. And so some people don't even know the services that are available to them in their communities. And we wanted to make sure that we were able to bring people together that understood the services that are available, know who those people are that can apply for those services. And we wanted to create a platform and use our platform to make sure that what it is that you do is exposed to the community. So thank you again for taking time out and offering these services and making sure that people are aware of them. We wanted to get into some questions. I know Pastor Avenger said there are thousands of people writing questions down right now, and I didn't know if she had one that was ready to ask.
I do. There's someone asking if they're facing or there's a possibility of eviction for their apartment, should they just go ahead and leave to try to find somewhere else before that catches up with, you know, I assume, I'm finishing the question, but before that catches up with their name and they're not able to get somewhere else, but I assume they're intending, yeah, I'm not telling you to like skip the process and keep going, but I guess should they go ahead and leave or wait to be put out?
Martin?
Yes. My thing still says I'm in, the internet is very unstable, so I hope I don't lose you. The question is, should they just leave if they're behind? Is that am I understanding the question there?
I believe the understanding is if a person is facing eviction, they sometimes want to go to another apartment complex before that eviction actually hits their record. And so they're wondering if they can do that and versus waiting till the eviction takes place. And so they're wondering, I believe, is can they leave before that?
Well, the question, they can, but it follows you, okay? One of the things that happens is when you leave, you're just accruing more cost, because now that you left before your time is up, now you get stuck with what they call early termination fees, which means
Okay, Mark, you may have to help Martin out in this regard. I know he said he was having some technical difficulties, but
Yeah.
if you,
Yeah, let me pick up on what he was saying. You know, it's really tough to say because you need some more context to really fully answer that question. I think it goes back to the being informed about what your options are.
right,
If your goal is to avoid the landlord filing an eviction lawsuit against you, then that's a reasonable strategy. If you think you have a defense to the allegation, let's say that the landlord's saying that you've had somebody living in your apartment that shouldn't be there for 2 weeks, and you know that you haven't, and you can, feel pretty confident that you can prove in court, I haven't had anybody living in here, then you may be more comfortable letting that play out through the court system, through the court process. If it's a situation where you're 3 months behind in rent, you've tried to work out an arrangement with the landlord has rebuffed you at every turn, and you know that train's coming. Again, that may be a reasonable situation where you jump ship and say, all right, I'm going to move out so that they don't file the eviction against me, and try to find some other place, because you're probably going to lose an eviction case where you're 3 months in arrears and there's no reasonable possibility of catching up. So I guess the answer to a short question is it's a little bit complicated. It depends on what the circumstances are.
Yeah, I think I would probably need, I guess, a little bit more information, but I guess the question is, what do? You know there's a possibility of an eviction. You got to have somewhere to live. You got to take care of it. You'd rather leave and then take care of it later. I don't know. That's kind of what I think it was, but I think you guys did a good job trying to speak to it. There's someone who is a landlord that says how much time should they give a tenant before they proceed with eviction, even now, like, because I know that landlords have the same issue. They have bills and things to take care of as well. And so what is the suggestion of time or leniency that should be afforded to people right now?
That's a good question. Of course, I'm biased since I typically represent the tenant in that situation. I mean, I think it's fair to say that, we want to encourage both parties to work with each other. I mean, I think good faith,
right.
Parties trying to work together towards a solution in good faith is a touchstone of what we want to see, just as a society in general. There are some, if the tenant is working towards, if it's a non-payment of rent issue, let's say, and the tenant has a realistic possibility of being able to get up the past due rent within, let's say, a month or so, I think the landlord ought to work with that person. Now, from a legal point of view, the law says that the landlord is required to give you, for non-payment of rent issues, the landlord is required to give you one notice during the life of your tenancy. And that notice says, if you don't pay rent within 5 days, the landlord can seek to have you evicted. That notice can either be written into the lease itself, if you have a written lease, or it can be given as an independent standalone notice at any point thereafter. As long as the landlord has given one, what's generally called 5-day notice for non-payment of rent, then if you miss your rent payment due date by 5 days, on day 6, the landlord has the legal authority or right to go file the eviction.
Wow.
So that's 5 days. But as you said, good faith at this time could, it's up to the landlord to say, hey, I understand. What can you pay? Maybe, or can we break this up? Or, as I have bills to pay as a landlord, as well. And I would love for you to stay here. If you haven't had any problems before COVID-19, those considerations, I think is good as well. There's a question about somebody wondering how they can get involved with working to help in the community, wanting to get a deeper understanding of how they can assist people with either one of you, I guess, as a volunteer to help people have an opportunity to know what their rights are, maybe place them in other complexes that have a little bit more leniency or have promotions happening where the first 2 months, I think I've seen these promotions where, I know when I was in college, I did that. You get the first 2 months for free, you pay a fee, get the first 2 months for free, and then they tag it on to the end. That could definitely be beneficial. Maybe we can talk with some complexes to say, hey, can you give the next 3 months? Are you in a position to service the next 3 months yourself and then add it on to the end? You know, people want to know how they can help in that regard too. And Pastor John had to take care of something else, but he's back too for whoever had any questions.
And also because we're tag teaming, we have a number of things happening at the church. So I'm gonna let my wife hold it down because she looks a whole lot better than me. Y'all just, and she's brilliant. So the brilliance and that, I'll get on Zoom. I'm gonna get on another link because we've got another pressing church matter at the same time. So I'm gonna try to do both. So however I can stay integrated, I will.
Okay, definitely.
By the way, if I can say this, Pastor DeMarcus, and to the rest of this team, you can't know how important it is for the community to know that you all are available, that you all are accessible, that there's a level of collective responsibility. I don't want to reinvent the verbal wheel because many plaudits have already been said, but I need you to understand how critically important it is for the public-private partnerships to continue to become the order of the day, because oftentimes we're literally cross-pollinating. We're serving the same communities of people in different ways. And what they need is for there to be the spiritual seed of hope, but then they need the practical application of actionable items that can make their lives materially better. And that's the power of this moment. And I think that's the evolution of what church should be to a community. The local community should not be, the church should not be the clog in the system. It should be the conduit to get people to the resources and the places that will help them to fulfill, their practical dreams. It's not enough to pray. You gotta have good credit, and you gotta also do other things. And then when you do need help, you got moments like this where you all come together. So again, I just want to say thank you.
Absolutely.
You know what? And there's, I don't know who this would be good for, but there is a question about advice for first-time home buyers who are in a good position where they are able to purchase right now. I'm not sure how that kind of matches, but they're saying, do you have advice for people? Like, what should they look for as far as first-time home buying in this climate?
Thank you. I'd like to take that question. So first of all, it's still a very good time to purchase a home. So go ahead and do everything possible to prepare yourself for home ownership. And I can do this in like under a minute because I do this every day, Monday through Friday. There's 4 main things you need to know. And if you have these 4 main ones, there are additional ones, but these are the 4 main ones you need to have in check to line up for home ownership. Number 1, keep your job stable. We need stability. We need to show the bank that you have stability with your income. And yes, we do get it. Right now, a lot of people are furloughed. A lot of people are getting an unemployment check. And a lot of people are expecting to go back to work. So plan on getting back to work. And while you're not working, number 2 is going to be saving. Okay. So whether you're working or not working, savings will save you. You got to have some savings in place if you want to line up for the highway of home ownership. It is totally possible to achieve home ownership this year. It's totally possible to achieve it right now with some of the best rates that we've seen in years, but you have to have that stability with income and stability with your savings. Number 3, this one is a C word, credit. Okay, credit can give you the green light. Credit is kind of like that black credit card that we all want to have in our pockets. It's going to get you in the doors. Most financial institutions today are looking for a 640 or higher. And if you don't have a 640 or higher, don't worry. We can help you with that. That's one of the things that I pride myself on. Our team is here to help you. And we literally meet you where you are with your credit, and we take you where you need to be and above that. So there's no more excuses about credit. So 640 or higher, and if you're not there, we'll help you get there. And lastly, is the bank or the financial institutions want to see that you have very little or no debt. So if you schedule an appointment with the counselor, you come in and you meet with us, we're going to meet you where you are. If you come in with debt, that's where we're going to start tackling that debt, eliminate the debt, and then also make some room for savings while we also are working with you to boost up your credit. You guys are going to be in good hands. This is a free resource. Now, all of those things are going to take a little bit of time. I'm not going to promise that we can get you there tomorrow, but we can help change your direction tomorrow.
I would like to just add that it's also important for first-time homebuyers to understand all the mortgage options available to them,
Right.
So that you really pick the right one and you're not just going with the first lender that you talk to, because that could, they could have a higher interest rate, they could charge you a lot more fees. So really, do your research, talk to different people, ask them questions about the programs that they offer. To really find the one that works the best for you, because you could save yourself a lot of money and really put yourself in a better financial, position in the future if you pick the right mortgage product.
Grace, I know that you're talking about mortgage products right now, and a lot of these discussions early on are for first-time home buyers and tenants that are facing eviction. But what about people that have mortgages and have houses, and they said, hey, right now we're going through some hard times and we wanted to defer our mortgage payment? How does that impact them regarding their future mortgage obligations?
So the great thing about now, well, it's not great because we're going through a pandemic, but there's been a lot of care for the consumers with their mortgages. They can contact their mortgage company, and I do recommend contact them as soon as you can't make a payment. So if you have been furloughed, laid off, or your spouse has, your partner, contact your mortgage company right away and let them know that I can't make my payment. There's a lot of options right now. Most mortgage companies, especially the ones that are backed by the government, are offering up to 180 days of forbearance. And the forbearance just means that your payment is paused for a period of time, but you still owe that money once the forbearance period is up. So contact the mortgage company, ask them what options they have. There's a couple things though. If you just have a month where things are tight and maybe you're waiting on extra money to come in, but you don't necessarily need to skip your payment, you just need an extension, ask them. It's okay to just say like, hey, I need a week to make my payment. And a lot of companies will say, okay, you can pay a week late. They might have a late fee, or they might even waive the late fee, but it's okay to ask for just a week instead of taking a whole month of skipping your payment. Really find what works for you. You can ask for an extension. You can ask for a deferment if you need it. But there's a lot of options out there right now as far as help with your mortgage payment.
Just one question of clarity regarding forbearance. If someone forbears their mortgage, once that forbearance period is over, are all payments due at that time?
Well, it depends on the financial institution. There's several options available. And it's important to, when you do ask for forbearance, to get this in writing. You want to make sure that you have it in writing what they agreed to, so that
Absolutely.
When your forbearance period is up, you're not, stuck with a surprise, or they're not trying to tell you something different than what you agreed upon. So a lot of companies have three options. You can pay the full amount that you deferred as soon as your forbearance period is up, which that's a lot of money. So that may not be the best option for everyone. You can also take the amount that you have deferred, and they can split it into equal payments added on top of your mortgage payment over a set period of time. So that also may not be a great option for people. If you are on a budget, you may not be able to afford a higher mortgage payment. You may not be able to afford, $300 more just to kind of catch up in your payments. Or they can add it to the end of your loan, which can extend the term of your loan, so you're paying on your mortgage for longer. So those are typically the three options that they're offering. Doing a forbearance is not going to hurt your credit, and they should not be charging you any late fees or reporting it to the credit bureaus as being late. But a way to keep track of that, because we are dealing with people and people make mistakes, is to check your mortgage statement each month, make sure that it is what you agreed, and check your credit to have some sort of credit monitoring in process, so that you can tell if someone does report a late payment that wasn't supposed to be reported. Just have something that will notify you of that.
Absolutely. Did you have a question?
Great. There's one question. It says, if you're facing your home being auctioned next month, are there any options left to avoid that because the lender conveniently disconnects the calls?
That may be a good question for Mark.
Right.
Yeah, there's two general rules of thumb that we tell people in that situation. One, you look at what's called, if the goal is to keep the house long-term, then you look at something called a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. A Chapter 13 bankruptcy is a procedure authorized by federal law, and you can file that bankruptcy up until the day before the foreclosure auction. And it allows you to force the lender to accept a repayment plan, so that the scenario that Grace was talking about, where you take your regular mortgage payment and you pay a little bit extra. Well, this is a federal law that sort of creates a up to 5-year repayment plan. Now, if you can't afford to make your regular mortgage payment plus, a little bit extra to catch it up over 5 years, and pay all other necessary living expenses such as food, lights, water, car payment, that kind of thing, car insurance, then you may not be able to file a Chapter 13. So if you have zero income, you can't file a 13. So you have to have some form of income, and how much income is needed is going to depend on what your financial circumstances are, how far you're behind, and whatnot. The other thing I would mention is that also under federal law, everybody has, for most mortgage servicers, every borrower is going to have one shot to get a loan modification. And you have to submit a completed, that's real key, a completed loan modification application at least 38 days prior to the sale date. So if you're 37 days or closer to the sale date, the loan servicer is not obligated to review an application. You should still submit one, and maybe they cancel the sale and maybe they end up reviewing it. I've had people tell me, no, we don't look at anything if you submit it less than 30 days to the sale, but maybe that person's wrong. Maybe somebody else actually gets the application and authorizes a delay of the foreclosure sale. So go ahead and submit the application, but just know that if you submit it at least 38 days prior, you have an absolute right, assuming you haven't been reviewed before, to have that application reviewed.
Absolutely, that is great. I thank you for having that part of the conversation. Martin, I wanted to ask you a question. There's a question that came up that says, can a landlord evict me? Or I know we talked about the landlord evicting them, but how do I get my landlord to make repairs if he or she refuses to do so? And what recourse do I have during this time?
Well, when making the repairs, the landlord, you can actually write a 14-day letter to your landlord. Now, what happens, you write the letter and you send it to the landlord with everything that needs to be repaired. With that, you would send it certified mail. You will wait for the receipt to come back that says it's been delivered. And then you start counting 14 days after that. By law, they have 14 days to make that repair. If they don't make the repair within 14 days, you can come down to our codes department here at the county and then show your letter, the date that you sent it, and it was delivered, and they will go out and do what they call an inspection to see exactly what's going on. They can actually fine the landlord if it finds that it's out of code and causing major problems. And basically that's one way to get that done. But you got to send a letter. You can't text it. You can't tell them. It has to be a 14-day letter.
And the reason I ask that question is sometimes during these times, people may be having challenges with things in their apartments or places of residence, and they may want to use that as a way to escape the lease or get out of or break the lease. And so we wanted to make sure that we kind of understand what that process looks like. If the landlord doesn't fix something, can I just vacate the lease and leave? And I know we have a 14-day process. If they don't fix it or if they're fined, then what happens in that case afterward?
If that landlord does not fix it, they can basically breach the contract, okay? But what happens is the landlord has to give them their deposit back. So because you're gonna have some landlord that says, I can't afford to fix it, it's not gonna fix it. So therefore you can get out of the lease without having a what they call early termination clause there. And the landlord would need to give you your deposit back. But you cannot stop paying your rent because your landlord is not fixing your property.
Right, that's a key point, making sure that you are continuing to pay the lease payment throughout the process, because if you don't pay it, then the landlord has every recourse to actually go after you and or hold you in contempt and fine you for other things. Thank you for that information. Sarah, I know you talked earlier about there being 4 points that you actually use to help people fix their credit, savings, making sure that there was stability in income. But if I wanted to be a first-time home buyer and I'm saving, but I don't have enough for a down payment, do you all have programs that provide down payment assistance so that people can actually get into homes with down payments?
Yes, actually, we don't have funding in our pockets, but we have resources in the community that does have down payment assistance, and that money can be used for closing costs or down payment assistance. One in particular that I know for sure, and this is assuming that they still have money, is going to be through Community Works. They have up to $4,000, and this money can be used either for down payment or closing costs. So it's a huge help because a lot of my clients that I'm working with, we'll get enough money up front for the process of buying the house, but then we get to the closing and we don't have enough for closing.
Right.
Or we'll have enough just to put something down and then we can't get to closing because there's some closing costs there. So it's important for families to know that there are resources that you can qualify for. Many of them are definitely income-based. So you do want to speak with the professionals that can explain to you where do you fall in the guideline. And if you qualify, put your application in.
Great. That's definitely great information. Grace, I wanted to ask you a question. During these times when people actually have mortgages, I know we talked about financial assistance, we talked about finding other resources that may be available, but mortgage is one part of a person's house, or a person's financial responsibilities and obligations. What about other bills like credit? What about personal loans? About cars, personal loans, or other things that are out there? Is your credit union available with resources to help people during these times? Or is it smart to borrow money to pay off debt during these times when there's uncertainty about future employment?
Well, it definitely, we are trying to help as many people as we can. I would say a lot of people have lost their jobs or they're furloughed and they simply don't have money to make these payments. They have maybe made all their payments on time before, but now they have no job and they simply can't make the payments. So it's very depending on your financial institution, the person who owns your loans, but we are letting people just defer their payments until they get back to work. Sometimes that's one payment, sometimes it's 3. We're just trying to work with them. But I would say the sooner you contact your financial institution to find out what options you have, the better decisions you can make. Definitely contact them before the bill is due. Find out what options you have. find out if what the fees are. You know, if you miss a payment on a car, you may risk repossession of that vehicle, and you need that vehicle to get back to work once your job reopens. So you might have, you know, that might be something that you want to prioritize. Talk to your lender; they might be able to kind of guide you through this. If you have a lot of debt, you could look into refinancing it into one loan for a lower payment. There are people who definitely do that. The mortgage rates are low right now, so it's also an option if you do own your home and maybe you've lived there for 10 years and you've built up some equity. The mortgage rates are low right now, so it's also a good time to refinance. And most mortgage lenders will go up to 80% of the value of your home and give you cash out. So if you need to do that, to take that equity that you've built into your home by making your mortgage payments, you can, you know, pay off some of your debt or just get yourself, you know, back in a good financial situation.
That's good. Martin, there are people out here that can't pay all of their rent. I have some rent, I can't pay the rest of it. You all have resources available to be able to help people with rent assistance?
Normally our rent assistance are basically where a person is being evicted. We will be having assistance that we can help people at this time. Yeah.
Okay. You say at this time, does that mean that's forthcoming in the next?
We got what they call COVID, post-COVID and pre-COVID. People that have been affected by COVID, we will be able to assist them a lot of times with utilities and different things like that. So yes, we will be able to help them.
You know what I think is phenomenal is that, you know, COVID is, I'm glad that you said post-COVID, because even, you know, while it's going on, we're still here. That everything is opening back up, but we are under no illusion that there may be a second wave of this coming. So we have to manage what we have well and timely. So is there a way that we can compile this information? Like I got like notes and notes and notes, but for the people who are asking the questions about how they can get more information on Chapter 13 bankruptcy to save some of their things, loan modifications, the timelines, inspections for people who are begging their landlords to fix things. The landlords aren't fixing things, but want to hold them to their part of the bargain as far as paying. The community, the qualifiers, the qualifying resources that people can have access to. Other partners, Pastor John did say that he wants us to add an initiative that would allow the church to be able to review some of the applications for people who may need assistance, because we get it all the time, but it's very sporadic, and you know, they'll show a bill, but we don't know if this is just a bill that you don't feel like paying right now because you want to head south to the beach. And not saying, I mean, people do, you just never know. And we want to be very wise with our resources. The church isn't just about servicing the employees of the church and their families. It's the members of the church and non-members, people who don't even believe what we believe. It's extending the hand, being the hands and feet of Jesus. And with an initiative like this, how do we centralize all of the information that could allow us to direct people to, you know, the right people, to Grace, to Sarah, to Martin, and to www.sclegal.org, if they don't have the resources to be represented well. I mean, we see this in all aspects, because if you have the money, you have the access, you can get things done, you can cut time in half, everything's great. If you don't have the status, if you don't have the money, if you don't have the resources, you're pushed at the end of the totem pole. And unfortunately, there is no gap, there is no middle for people to be able to have the help that they need. And all of these things are great, but even me, I wasn't aware. Like, I would have loved to have some of this information in college, because I had a landlord who we were like, hey, you know, our refrigerator is broken. Now that's not something that can wait a week, you know. And it's like, well, we need to go ahead and pay someone to fix this refrigerator while you're deciding if it's necessary to have your attention. But now we don't, my roommate and I, Candace, we don't have the money to pay you for the rent because we've taken care of something that was your responsibility. And for them, like, it seems like most of the laws are to protect the landlord in their position because you signed off. And sometimes it's college students or just young adults, you don't read the fine print about how long you're supposed to give a notice. But what if it's an emergency and they don't show up? It causes a domino effect of things happening, and then you're facing eviction. The eviction is on their side because you have to do this by a certain date. You don't have the resources to do so because you've handled their business on one side, and they're like, well, hey, you can't take, you know, your rent payment to fix things and then deduct it, which makes logical sense to me. I'm like, hey, I'll do it. We'll call somebody to fix it. But, and if you don't want to, but then they use the people they use, which will probably, you know, be a little bit lesser quality or all of that. So there are so many things that are intertwined in just knowing your rights, what this is so important about. We just need all of the information just in one place where people can be like, hey, you've got the first time home buyers needing to figure out X, Y, and Z. How do we boost the credit? How do we understand what resources that we qualify for based on income or not? You know, what are all the options? Because people just don't know what question to ask, who to ask them to, and the people that they are asking probably don't want to tell them they don't have the answers. So, you know, how do we centralize all of the information in order to just be better for the people of Greenville in this regard?
Pastor Avender, I think that's one of the reasons we started having this conversation in the first place, as we identified that as being a concern in this area, that there wasn't one source or wraparound services, or even finding out how these groups are interconnected. And we saw an opportunity there to actually possibly even create a one sheet, so to speak, so that we know who the people are that are connected and how those resources are available to the people. Having this conversation is one of the starting points. This is the first conversation we've had collectively. But I believe going forward, I've had conversations with community leaders that said they'll put on informational sessions regarding tenant rights and things of that nature, and people won't show up, and people may not be in need of them until that thing affects them. And so us being proactive right now and making sure that we have the information together and putting it forth on a platform that others are made aware of it, we can start to have the dialogue so that we're prepared before the situation is a need for people. So education is definitely it. Making sure that we pull together a one sheet so that we know who those resources are personally as we refer people daily to resources, making sure that there's one entity. But the unfortunate thing about our government and the way things are structured is there's no one entity that handles everything. It's almost like arms of a body and parts of a body. There are different people that handle different resources. Hey, Pastor John.
I was at another location. I had to come make sure you had a full suit on. Make sure you stay professional.
I have a full suit on.
You do.
And my shoes
you don't have
shine.
On a suit jacket and shorts.
No suit jacket and shorts.
Well, I'm very glad. And I hit you in the middle of your monologue. So I was listening to Pastor Av talk about credit worthiness and our church partnering, and I don't know if she's shared what we'd like to do, but Pastor Av, if you would share that homeowners as an initiative once he's done, because I want to give some hope. What we need to do, Pastor DeMarcus, is make sure we memorialize this conversation online.
Absolutely.
So that it is a consistent area of resource. So people who have questions, we can refer them to this conversation.
Absolutely. So
that we can make sure that people are being properly vetted, but also, I've got 2 lives on, so I'm sorry. There we go. that we are properly vetting people and making sure that they have this information
Right.
As a resource for what's going to happen over the next few months. So proactivity, but making sure availability of this information is critical.
Absolutely. Based upon the conversations that we had prior to now, this information is scheduled to live in our Facebook Live. I'll have to follow up to make sure that that is with our IT, IT support department, Pastor Anzio, in our online department, to make sure that that lives there. But making sure that we have these conversations early and often, and this is just one conversation. So the dialogue must continue even beyond this point and beyond these moments, to make sure that we are continuously engaging the right people in the room. There'll be business people in our next conversation, so that we can identify financial partnerships, so that the government or governmental entities aren't the only ones that are financially responsible for making sure that we are part of the collective whole within the community. And so I know that there are great things that are in store, and we have a great opportunity ahead of us. There are people that are facing challenges and facing problems, but us coming together pandemic and post-pandemic to identify what those solutions are in place, I believe are part of the steps that we need to pass the Avenger to make sure that we have the people equipped with the tools that they need.
Absolutely.
Well, I know that this is the start of a conversation. We had it pegged for about an hour and a half initially, but I know we are right at the hour starting point regarding the conversation. And we've had some definite in-depth conversations. Pastor Aventer, did you have any more questions that came in online that needed to be answered and or addressed?
I know a few of them I missed, but there is someone that placed up, if you need assistance with mortgage or utility, it's a call 211 number. And it says for Greenville, for the Greenville option, because I'm just not sure who all can see the information. But
go ahead.
And I tried to like screenshot some of this. Let's see. Here.
We have the information regarding 211, and we posted some of that earlier. I believe some of these, the offices that are online, once we give a chance to do an ending, everyone will be able to give their information directly to their department or their email address or whatever contact information they want to leave with their organization, so that there's a direct line of contact and communication with the individuals here. 211 is a part of it, but I believe that goes directly into the United Way. But there are other resources that United Way may refer them to one of the resources here on the call. So we just want to make sure that we keep an understanding of who to contact. And so that's a resource. It's not the only resource. And so that's something that we wanted to make sure that we addressed. Regarding the conversations and the calls that were had, if there are moments that you wanted to leave with the people here so that it will stay go into perpetuity, what would you say, Grace, to people regarding best practices during this time? And everybody's going to answer that question. So when we go around the horn, be prepared for your turn.
Best practices, I would say, be honest, upfront with asking for help. Don't be scared to, admit that you need help. It's better to start early than to try to start after you're already behind. There's a lot of people out there who really want to help. There's a lot of good people. So just try to find people who will help, ask for help, and try to stay on top of the payments on your loans as much as possible, because, unfortunately, late payments stay on your credit for 7 years. So try to stay on top of those so that you can stay financially stable in the future too, hopefully once all of this is behind us.
Absolutely. And if anyone wanted to contact your office or your company, should they just come directly to the company and become a part of the credit union, or what should they do?
Yes, we've got 2 offices in Greenville, 2 in Spartanburg and 1 in Gaffney. They can call me directly. My direct phone number is 864-385-6993. If they call our company line, we do have a call center, and they can ask for me or for any of our financial counselors to kind of get some help if they need it.
Pastor Avin, did you need her to repeat that number?
Yes.
Sorry. It's 864-385-6993.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Mark, Attorney Mark, what best practices would you think people need to practice during this time?
Well, I'll mention something that we get a lot of questions about, or we see a lot of issues with, is if somebody does get served with a eviction notice, which is from the court, it's a document called a rule to vacate or show cause. That is the first legal document that you'll get that triggers that eviction process. And people will automatically call the court and they'll say, I disagree with this. And what that does is the court will schedule a hearing. And those hearings get scheduled pretty quickly. What you want to do instead, you have 10 days after you get served with that rule to vacate or show cause, you have 10 days. So you want to just pause a minute, think about, what your goals are, why you're being sued, do you have a defense to that, and reach out and seek legal assistance at that point before you get a hearing scheduled. Because in Greenville County, for example, you might have the right to, or you do have a right to a jury trial. And if you sought legal counsel, the attorney might think, wow, this is a great case to take before the jury. But you have to request a jury trial 5 business days prior to the trial date. So if you jump on the phone to the magistrate court and the magistrate sets a hearing date, and then you go to an attorney and you have less than 5 business days before that hearing's going forward, you've waived your right to a jury trial. And another thing in Greenville County specifically is if you request a jury trial properly, you have to go to mediation first. And mediation is where you can sit down and try to work it out with the landlord before it gets to any kind of official legal adjudication. So I would say if you get served, try to reach out to an attorney. In fact, reach out to an attorney once you get a 30-day notice or a some sort of notice to vacate. At that point, if an attorney can review your options, you can create a game plan like Sarah was talking about much earlier in this program. Having a game plan is key, because the last thing you want to do is go into the magistrate court saying, this is unfair, they're doing me wrong. But if you don't have a game plan for explaining in detail how that happened or what they did, what the landlord did that's illegal, the magistrate's not going to investigate your case for you. You've got to be able to show the magistrate exactly what the legal issues are. And so, contacting legal help earlier rather than later is important. Again, our intake line at 888-346-5592, open Monday through Thursday, 9 to 6, is the best way to put in an application for legal services. And the second thing I'd mention, not to take up too much time, is we have 2 other internet resources where people can go and try to learn about the law of South Carolina as it relates to landlord-tenant, debt collection, et cetera. And so South Carolina Legal Services has a YouTube site. So if you just Google South Carolina Legal Services YouTube, we have a bunch of videos. One is called Getting Your Landlord to Make Repairs. And we walk through the steps of how to get your landlord to make repairs, talking about the 14-day letter and whatnot. And it has a bunch of other videos that might be of interest and use. And then we have another website, which is www.lawhelp.org/SC. And there we have a bunch of written materials that are arranged by topic areas. So you might have landlord tenant, probate, debt collection, various resources that people can access there. So those 2 resources, because we've had a lot of information today, and there's no way people are going to be able to absorb it all.
Right. A lot of information, but I did want to tell you all, I have an ice skater I need to get on ice. My daughter, my 6-year-old, wait, she turned 7, my 7-year-old. So I wanted to say thank you for your time. We are definitely going to pull all of this information together to do a resource bundle for not just our members or Relentless, but for Greenville. And we're going to map out this initiative that Pastor John was talking about becoming a partner, so we can kind of work in tandem with what the requirements are and what people are looking at as we vet and provide information and resources for people post-COVID, because we're going to have a post-COVID, we're going to be back in COVID, and then we're going to have another post-COVID. And so if we get this right, we can really help people sustain and take care of their property and even just be better resourced renters and mortgage holders during this unfortunate and I just wanted to say thank you to all of you guys for your time, for just your knowledge. And I just am grateful because I have all my notes and I know we can review the call. And I hope all of the listeners and everybody that tuned in got some necessary nuggets to take back to family members, even if they didn't need it for themselves, so that we can pass this information along and keep Greenville moving forward. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, and Pastor Adventure is going to jump off the call, and we're going to finish up with the last two comments, and then we're going to finish everything out. So bye, Pastor Adventure. Thank you.
Bye.
Sarah, I know that we are going around talking about final thoughts and final directives, and you put 4 points out there regarding things that you wanted people to know and to take away. What would you like to leave us with as a final thought?
Final thought is don't be idle. Keep moving forward. Yes, we're all nervous. We're all scared. We might have some fear with us, but I want to invite you to just fear forward. Okay, Greenville cares about you. We're right here in your own backyard. We're ready to work with you. You have resources that you can tap into. And as you heard earlier, everything is FREE. So please take advantage. We have a great team waiting to work with you. We meet you where you are. We'll help get you where you want to go. So take advantage of the resources. Get started now. Don't wait. Right now is the time to change your next year. Right now.
Great. And then leaving information with people to be able to get in contact with your office.
Yeah. Yes, I know a lot of you listeners out there are dying probably to, how do I schedule an appointment? How do I get in touch with Greenville County Human Relations or the Financial Empowerment Team? Please just go to www.greenvillefec.com.
Got it.
Right there, you can book an appointment. It's free. We will get a message on our phones that we got an appointment with you, and we are looking forward to working with you. If you want to contact the office, you can reach us at 864-467-7095. Again, don't wait. Don't stay idle. Times are hard, but you can still get a lot done, and we're here to work with you. You don't have to do it alone. We want to partner with you in your success. Your success is our success.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great, Martin. Is there any final thought or any question that we didn't ask you that you wanted to speak on?
Well, I apologize for the technical difficulty. It's been crazy. But I do want to talk about, just briefly, we talked about evictions, but I really want to talk about how not to be evicted.
Right.
One of the things you want to definitely do is build a relationship with your landlord, because there's some times that you may run on hard times. And if that landlord, you have a relationship, they understand, and they may give you a lot of leeway. Second, read your lease.
Good. Your
lease is basically going to tell you everything that you can and cannot do. Pay your rent on time if you can. Get help if you can't. Keep your unit clean, and be responsible for your guest that comes over, because anything they do, you're going to be responsible for. Right. So those are some of the key points that can help you not to be evicted. And we hope during this time, no one ends up in that situation. But if you do, there's a place that you can get help. Do not, like Sarah says, don't just sit on it. We can help you. Just basically reach out. Okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We wanted to make sure that everyone was able to get on the call. Thank you all for everything that you all poured out and shared. It's amazing to have such a diverse panel of people with respect to experiences and points of view and perspectives. And thank you for taking time. This is the first of many conversations that we'll have. I will definitely follow up with you regarding next plans or next steps and things that we can do to continue this discussion. And even further discussions going forward, things that we may find out that we didn't ask, or questions that may come in. And we'll follow up and give us an opportunity to do this again with maybe more people or more panelists, and add the business community to it as well. So thank you so much for your time. look forward to having a conversation with you as well. I'll make sure that we put a link on Facebook or give you the Facebook link so that if you want to refer it to anybody within your network or your partners, you'll have that information. And Pastor Adventure talked about us pulling together a pamphlet or blueprint that actually has all of this information in it once we're able to siphon through it. But definitely I'm looking forward to us having another conversation and continuing this dialogue going forward. So God bless you. Thank you. And we'll see you soon. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.